Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunashumme, washmale. Ohio gozaimasu, guten Morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba. Buna, mucho, gracias, fabi, balli kare aaya. Hoş geldin and I say Khuyamura Chivato Chi Hajot Kalimera Kherutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very lucky that I've been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Ms. Hajar Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Hajar, Assalamu Alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum Assalam. Thank you so much for introducing me. So Shahzad, since it happens to be the 1st of Muharram, and according to Islamic calendar year, this is the start of the year, and Muharram is one of the very sanctified, very honorable month, particularly in the Islamic calendar. And it's not just because of the Karbala, because there are also some of the incidents that happen particularly in the Muharram, and the sanctity of this month can be gauged by the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this is my month, right? So make sure that you do not sin in this particular month, because you are going to be held accountable twice that of the sin that you are doing, right? So make sure that you hold your fast, and obviously this routine should not be just limited to the Muharram, and it should extend to other months of the Islamic calendar, and not sinning should not just be limited to Muharram. Obviously it should be extended towards the other months of Islamic calendar, but particularly the importance of this month is very huge, and obviously in the days to come we are going to further talk upon it, deliberate upon it, ruminate the incidents that happen in this holy month, and talk about particularly the state of Muslim Ummah present and what happened back then years ago.
Exactly, and thank you so much Hajar for pinpointing that as well, because ladies and gentlemen, I think for all of those things which have happened or occurred according to the Islamic history as well, you know, one of those events is, you know, where how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated from Makkah to Medina, you know, the martyrdom of Hazrat Imam Hussain as well. And not just that, I think it gives us a message of how to stand against oppression, you know, how to be those people, you know, where you really need to say that what is right and what is wrong is wrong. I think that's the strongest message that we get. And for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, that's how we as Muslims embark on our new year as well. You know, with the, you know, as soon as we have the month of Muharram al-Haram, that's how we enter into the New Year's. And Hajra has actually put it wonderfully well as well, that it's the month of our Allah Almighty as well. All the months, everybody actually belongs to Him as well. So please make sure that you're mindful of it as well, and always make sure that you raise your voice against all of those people who you might think are the ones you might not stand against. But that's, I think, the message that we're going to come across. But having said so, you know, what are we talking about today? Because Haja, imagine that, you know, just a couple of days ago, I wasn't here. It took me a month to come back. I want to thank a lot of people who were out there sending me prayers, you know, regularly. Thank you so much, you know, to my parents, my family, after Allah Almighty. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there's this one issue which I've actually come across, and my entire team, obviously. And Haja, that one issue was that when my doctor actually kind of looked at me, he said, because I was going to gym, I was making sure that I have a healthy routine, I eat healthy, you know, I was having a lot of milk, proteins, you know, greens and everything. And, you know, I came across this statement from a doctor, and he said that your muscle tissues are really weak, you know, and they're very fragile. And I was like, but, you know, I work out this much, you know, I've got a muscular physique, you know, how can you say that? It was like, probably you need to check your diet. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, you know, I don't know what you're eating, but it does not show, you know, the way you're telling me that you've been having milk, you've been having chicken, proteins, all sorts of greens as well, because your body does not tell that. I was like, how do you think, or why do you think it's happening? He said, probably what you're eating is, you know, what looks like milk, but might not be milk. And that was the issue which we actually as a family had to address as well, that, okay, what should we do now? And with this season, we have entered in, you know, it's monsoon season, very commonly known as Barsat over here in Pakistan, actually brings along a lot of other illnesses and diseases. Am I right?
That's very true, and thank you so much for pointing out the changing seasonalities of the nature. And when you talk about Barsat, or we also say Sawan in other words in Urdu here, or in general
or
language.
Sawan Badu as well, I think.
Yes, particularly in the subcontinent's tradition. So with that, and we have seen that there's a huge fluctuation in the weather pattern. So one day it will be like 40 degree, but it will feel like 50 degree, and then other day there will be raining and the temperature would drop to maybe 35 or 34 degrees centigrade. And with that, we are experiencing, a lot of people are experiencing diarrhea because of the changing seasonalities of the nature and so much fluctuation in the weather pattern. So how to protect yourself? And generally in the monsoon, I think the appetite level is really down, because you don't want to eat much, right? And you want to just consume a lot of fluids. And I think as someone who is sitting on the PTV, we're also responsible for the messages that are going out. So we really want to put it out. It's not just the humans who are impacted by this heat waves and very fluctuating weather patterns. It's also the animals out there, especially who are wandering in the streets, or who are flying in the skies, the birds. You're also responsible for them. So make sure that you have an earthen pot in your household and fill it with the water, and whatever the leftovers of the food is, make sure that you put it out there, because obviously I've seen that the birds are getting very puffy and they're fluffing up a lot, and I don't know what is that pointing it out, but I generally feel that they're also very thirsty, and they're also influenced severely by this changing weather pattern. So without any further ado, we are going to talk about the diet and what sort of a diet we need to have in this particularly the weather pattern of the monsoon. So without any further ado, we are very glad that we have been joined by a nutritionist. He happens to be Dr. Javeria Mahmood. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you every time. You have to travel from Lahore to to be at our program. It's wonderful to have you. So let's get started with what Hajra has been pointing towards. Now imagine with this changing season, obviously we certainly most of the time are not aware of the water quality that we drink as well, whether it's clean or not. But most of the time, one of the most common issues within this season we call monsoon is diarrhea. How do we address that issue first of all?
Number one, health is wealth, and health is very important. True. Whenever we talk about the health, wellness, nutrition, it's vary from age to age, person to person, and age, weight, height, and level of physical activity according to your dietary goals. True. That's what we need. But whenever we talk about the weather changes, or you can say how we can see the things like immune defense system, like most important thing, how you see yourself in a changing weather, and most important thing, are you eating pattern or time, it's okay with you, or it's
we like can eat whenever whatever we get.
Actually,
that's what our problem
actually is. It's like this, you should have a meal on time, like breakfast on a breakfast time, lunch on, it's not like this, like you up by 2 o'clock and you are having a breakfast sort of stuff. So things are like this. Whenever we speak about the monsoon sort of things, so number one thing is this, we need to control our electrolyte imbalance. We need to see our...
And how can we do that? Do you think ORS can actually help us do that?
It's not about ORS, it's like sugar, little bit mineral or salt, and you can add a lemons. You can make your own thing for the whole nutrition sort of stuff. Because most important thing, your calcium, sodium, potassium level should be on point. Specifically when you are sweating a lot, you are working outside. Most of the people who are working in media or in our police side, or all the people who are serving outside.
Exactly.
Most of that people,
in the field.
In a field or for the outdoor things. Most importantly, that people need more calories than the people at home.
And is it just only calories, or do you think that the water intake really needs to be on point as well with this season?
And I think we also need to touch upon the laborers who are working out there, because alhamdulillah, we are privileged enough that we can satisfy our calorie counts and whatever our balance or the need for the nutrition is. But for people who are working, who are on the whims of other people, right, because they can't satisfy that, they're poor, they're underprivileged, how can we protect them, and what sort of a diet would you recommend for them?
Actually, balanced diet is the key of health, happiness, and successful life. And punctuality is the key, consistency is the key. It's not about eating out and eating too many calories outside, having a junk food and sort of stuff. Because in Pakistan, trend towards of junk food are not good. Eating out and eating unhealthy is not good. Drinking a lot and unhealthy foods and drinks are not fine once a week or whatever. Either whenever you wanted to, whenever either you are poor, you can't afford, or either you have a good affordability and availability sources.
And I think you mentioned a very important point, because I was looking at my social media feed, and I came across this very I would say mind-boggling information that people who were consuming sting, they had some sort of liver failure, right? So you also please address this rising trend, the where people are rushing towards these energy drinks, you know, how harmful are they for the health?
They are very harmful.
Right.
You know, there is a lot of meat products, milk side and other commercial items. They are all carcinogenic.
Okay.
You can say cancer developing cells. I'm, you know, whenever I interacted with the patients and people like a cancer patient specifically, so that disease didn't come for the, you know, it's not
all of a sudden,
like
yeah.
all of a sudden, but
Yep.
it's like take a lot of time, a lot of unhealthy food, a lot of unhealthy eating pattern, and most importantly, you raised a point like how the poor and there people who can't afford a healthy diet, how they can achieve a healthy dietary goals. So number one, balanced diet, simple diet, healthy diet.
Right.
2 times meals are fine, but if you have a diabetes or have a, you know, heart issues, you can go with the intermittent fasting along
Yep.
with your medicines, healthy food on time, and specific food with the good calories and nutrition.
Exactly, and that's something which I would want to build on. Now imagine that, you know, for a nation where, alhamdulillah, for us, you know, eating is something which we call is very festive. Not just that, I think it's a mode of entertainment, and we do not eat when we are hungry.
Yeah.
We eat because our mouth is lonely. That's what the problem is as well most of the time, and I'm sorry to people who are out there, because I've seen that for myself as well. It's hard to control.
Yeah.
But now when we get to calorie count, you know, let me just kind of wrap up where we actually spoke about diarrhea as well, because imagine that this is the season of watermelon.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that people, you know, who keep on putting them back in the refrigerator, they really need to check whether the food's right or not, because in this season, ladies and gentlemen, the life expectancy of any fruit or any food item is not as much as it is usually in winters or probably normal summers as well, because of the refrigerator. Now let's come to calorie count. Now what happens is that most of the people might not be aware of it, that even while you're dieting and if you want to reduce your weight, it's probably that you really need to get into calorie deficit, right? It can be through eating a pizza, it can be through eating a burger. That might not be healthy, and that's not what I'm proposing. But let's talk about how many calories an ordinary man requires and how many calories an ordinary woman might require.
Actually, in the children, they're like we started like from the number one, breastfeeding is important for the smaller child. After that, whenever they used to go the weaning practices or in a school age, mothers should give them the homemade food. Hence, then the.
But that's not happening these days. Everybody's working now.
Yeah, working women.
So no anda, no paratha, nothing.
No, but
you know, it's sausages, and that too is packaged food.
Packaged food or colorants and things, they can help. They can make a disorders of the cognitive development. They affect their growth of their, you know, increasing height issues and many other issues. Laterly, the children of like 8 to 10 years need 1,000 to 1,200 calories. Later on, when they into the adolescent or a teenage, they need more calories, like 1,800 to 2,000 calories. But whenever we varied it, the pregnant nutrition or old nutrition, it varies. And sports nutrition, it has a different calories. Like 3,000, 3,500 calories needed per day.
Imagine Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. You know, I think everybody's aware of it. He takes 5,000 or 6,000 calories a day.
But over caloric is not a good thing. Because whenever you take one nutrient in a dense quantity or quality, it affects on your health.
So even if
like
it's
it
protein,
affects on your liver, you know, your kidney.
So even if you are consuming a lot of protein, do you think that, for example, if my body requires 100 grams of protein, because that's what they say, you know, whatever your weight is, that's the amount of protein that you need to consume. So if I am consuming 200 grams of protein every day, do you think that that's me kind of poisoning myself, or do you think that it's not healthy for my body?
It's totally fine, but thing is this, you should take the proteins from the plant sources or animal sources, not for the, you know, don't need to go for the supplementation and things. Because most of the trash and bad thing happening in our body, because, you know, our body is a temple, not a trash can. But people treat it like a trash can. It's not a good thing at all.
And we use those formula proteins as well.
And you can say whenever you go with the unhealthy supplementation or that thing, the nutraceutical industry, they're working, but whenever you go for the, you know, healthy foods, for the pulses, legumes, healthy meats, or healthy oils and plant-based and you know, food, dietary supplement as a sort of stuff, then you're feeling mentally healthy, mentally satisfied, physically healthy, physically satisfied.
I think she raised a very important point, that is about the self-medication, and a lot of people who are consuming nutrients without going to the nutrition, right? So please shed the light.
Because they just love to spend, you know, a lot of money there and just love to, you know, satisfy
And
their
not-
souls.
and not
but
go to the
their-
nutritionist.
You can say
It's very trendy, right? They want to be cool and join the bandwagon, and this is how they are, you know,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, mingling into the very trendy sort of a thing. But now I think we need to point out towards another very interesting topic, which is about how is the tasty food always very full of nutrition? Because I don't know whether it's with me or I mean from other people, but whenever I'm feeling hungry, the first thing that pops up in my mind is some fried item, right? Maybe chips or pakoras or nuggets
I
or
think
something like, right?
that's how we grew up over here in our country as well.
I
You know, that's what we want.
mean, fruit never crops up into my mind. I don't know why, but why do you think this is, you know, the sort of the first feeling that I am having when I'm feeling hungry, right? And please also differentiate between, you know, is it healthy to consume a lot of nutrients?
You know, in Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, everywhere in the world, food is used as a festivity, especially on the, you know, in the previous days we are into the Eid sort of stuff, and on the weekends, people used to have, you know, nahari, pie, this, a lot of things. After that, they are in the bad health issues, high blood pressures, and many other problems. So things are like this. I'm always recommending people that you can go through with these things like fried items or you know, nalini and all that stuff, but take in a low quantity. Don't take too much.
Yeah.
Like don't need to take like this is, and one meal at one time. It's
That's
not
true.
like this. You have a pie, nihari, then this, and this left. You have to take it, and people force it for the other people. And after
So
that,
kind
they're
of
serving not the
discontinuity.
kahwa, not the green tea. They're serving with the, you know, carbonated beverages. What's happening in your body?
Right.
You are full of diabetes, you know, high blood pressures and sudden heart attacks.
Cholesterol,
And
yes.
after that, what the actually people do here is they used to smoke.
And
You know, this they polluted their blood
Right.
like
And I think
anything.
they're going towards the self-destruction mode, right? And
Yeah,
when
that's
we
true.
talk about Pakistani culture or South Asian
Yeah.
culture, so wheat is a very staple food, right? So we are
Yeah.
consuming roti every day. And we've also seen that, you know, diabetes prevalence in Pakistan is very, very high. I think it tops the chart.
You're on
in the
number
world.
one?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Type 2
So-
diabetes.
Yes.
basically.
So how can we, I mean, curb this habit of wheat, because obviously it's a very staple food. Our tongues are very used to, I think, the taste of wheat. And what is the alternative that you would recommend as a nutritionist for
Actually,
diabetic people?
what I used to recommend and what I used to address all the people who are watching us and listening us, use the 5-grain meal. You can go with the healthy fibers.
Right.
Fibers are good for the maintaining good cholesterol level,
Right.
good for your heart health, good for skin, good for constipation and other issues as well. Because if there is clotting or any other issue, you can sort out with the millet, oat, barley,
Right.
and you can add wheat, and you can eat 1 kg of five that you can say nutrients, and you can mix it out and make your own chapati or a rusk biscuit or whatever.
Right.
But people don't want to make or put effort for their own self. They just think go for the, you know, you can say
Easier methods, right?
No, not easy method, commercial method,
Right.
unhealthy method,
Yeah.
like quick food, quick meal, junk food that's not healthy at all. And you know, I think so. I'm working in Punjab Food Authority in Punjab as well, and whenever we used to discard a lot of oils, you know, a lot of milk sort of stuff, and all of they're not on parameters, they're totally unhealthy, rancid oils, and you know, they didn't change big hotels and you know, many other places that we, you know, we were talking about, that we enjoyed meals outside. A lot of people are
And we
doing
certainly want to, you know, kind of dig into it as well, you know, because, you know, for somebody who's actually a part of the Punjab Food Authority, what did they figure out, you know, while they were out there, you know, what sort of oil are being used by the restaurants, what alternatives can we use to actually make sure that our body is literally a temple as well. You know, we really need to head out towards a short break. Once we come back, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about that. And let's talk about fruits as well, because the king of fruits, mangoes, are here as well. How many mangoes do we need to consume? And whether, you know, if we feel like munching, can we literally move on towards fruits and salads? Is that a good idea? After a short break, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, Shahzad alluded to the sort of conversation that we want to steer. So without any further ado, Dr. Javeria, so now let's get a conversation started and also talk about, I think Shahzad mentioned about, because he's been to UK and we've seen that how genetically modified food is also impacting your health, right?
Yeah.
And in Pakistan, we don't see that much heavy influence of that, but we do see that it has diffused into our society too, right?
Yeah.
So how would you rate that? And we also see that there's entire organic industry that is growing. It's, you know, I would say more expensive than the genetically modified food, but if you see the ingredients, I don't think so they are organic at all, right? So how do you recommend and walk us through a good routine, especially in terms of the dietary nutrition that we want to have in a day? So what would you recommend?
Basically, things are like this. In Pakistan, there is a very less nutrition awareness everywhere. We need to deliver more and more lectures on healthy nutrition patterns through TV channels, through lectures in universities. And this is the part of every responsible citizen to tell every second person what you need to take for the next meal and what we need to take for the healthy meals, for the good health. Because if your meal is healthy, you are healthy. If your meal is unhealthy, unhygienic, because hygiene starts from kitchen. Either it's a hotel, it's a home, or whatever you can. You know, hair must be covered.
Yeah, they should be gloves.
Yeah, basic, jo main
Hands
essential
needs to be
goods,
washed, yes.
But what's happening in Pakistan, there is a lack of awareness. You raised a point like a genetically modified food, but in Pakistan, I think so very few people know about it, because, you know, fortification, little bit people know absorption and consumption of certain nutrients. Like I wanted to address people like if you are taking only iron or things based of iron like spinach or things like this, or apple a day keeps the doctor away, things like this, then you have to take vitamin C for the next time. Go for the citrus fruits. Then the absorption and consumption in your blood along with the two nutrients.
Wonderful.
If you are taking calcium, you need to take vitamin D along with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only calcium can't do any miracle.
And only vitamin D cannot do any miracle as well. Yeah.
And don't need to do, you know, some people are like this, you need to take the vitamin D or omega-3 is very essential, very good for you, every second thing. But they didn't forget or told people like you need very essential that you need to take calcium, healthy sources as well, food sources, not like, you know, tablets are not for the supplements. Because as a nutritionist, my 100% you know, influence into this, that we need to take all the vitamins from the fruits and vegetables, and we can go over.
Dr. Javeria, thank you so much for pointing it out, and I think because of the paucity of the time, we quickly want to cover this very important aspect. Because of the heat wave, we are witnessing a lot of heat strokes, right? People are experiencing low blood pressure, right? So if someone experiences heat stroke, what is the immediate step that as a lay person we should do to recover
Number
that
one,
person?
keep dates or any sweet sort of thing. If you're diabetic, that's too fine. You can go with the plums, lychee, mangoes, either you know, one piece, that's fine. Banana is a good source of potassium, antidepressant as well, because as you raise this point, in this society, too much depression, and it's because of unhealthy food. Wherever you go to used to eating out in a peer pressure or for yourself, but if you go for the unhealthy food, you are into the literally you are in depression. And we need to take up foods that helps you into the, you know, sort of the depression. And most important, figs, raisins, and olives. Very important. Every second person needs to add these ingredients in the daily diet, because I believe one thing, if you are taking dates with 1 cup of lukewarm milk in a breakfast along with the egg or cereal or main thing, or either one fruit serving, it's not possible that you are into some
and I think that's a very important point, because this is also sunnat, right? This is how Prophet used to consume his diet, and that is why there are so many merits of having dates, right? But thank you so much, Dr. Saiba, for coming here. And it's not just the food that we consume, it's also the thoughts that we consume, and what sort of thoughts should we need to consume in order to live a very better and productive life. We're going to discuss and further ruminate upon that. With that, we are going on a short break, and after we come back, we will have this discussion. Don't go anywhere. Good morning.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you watch World this morning. Earlier we were having a fruitful conversation about whether to have fruits, beans, and what not, you know, to kind of keep ourselves healthy as well. that was a lucrative conversation as well. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time that we come down to that point where, what Hajra was actually pointing out towards before going towards the break. Now, imagine that most of the times within our own education system, even while I was doing my, I think, OA levels, I never knew that after A levels I'll be going to university. Because imagine, if we are to kind of talk about our parents' time, I think they used to do some sort of BA or BSc, that was a bachelor's, but the concept of universities back then wasn't that relevant. It became relevant. There are top-notch universities over here in the country who actually would conduct job fairs, but most of the time kids would never know what to do or what skills to get polished in their university time in order to land themselves a job. Now, it is very interesting that we have somebody over here who will speak about it, whether what skill set do you need in today's time to kind of make sure that you land a job. Whether landing a job is a great idea or not, that's a different debate. But how to land yourself a job is something that we're talking about, and we're very lucky that we've been joined by
Ms. Hurain Hassan. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much for inviting me. And like you said, that in today's skill era, most of the students have missed out the opportunity of developing their skill set regarding job. And most of the students today are actually following the trend, like most are going for BBA, some are going for English, some are going for psychology, some are becoming doctors. What we are not noticing is that all of these industries are becoming saturated day by day. And
even medicine.
Even medicine is becoming saturated. In Pakistan now, I guess the quota is down to 20,000 doctors a year are required. And we currently have...
But we have been producing doctors for the rest of the world.
Yes, we have been producing doctors for the rest of the world. We are not actually, changing our directions toward different studies. We have so many students in psychology, but we don't have a psychology market in Pakistan. We have so many students in BBA, but we do not have so
much. Okay, that's noted,
yeah. But I think there needs to be some sort of criteria, right? So what are your particular strengths and how can you develop those strengths into your professional skills? So how can we highlight or identify those strengths? Because I think when you're in your FSC, you are not very well aware, self-awareness might not be that high as you. Yes, of course, and we are usually following the
tan theta, cos theta, I mean integration, I've never used it in my life.
Bandwagon, whatever the badi baji of the family has done, so we are usually following her footsteps, so whatever the friends are doing, we are just, like a sheep following that herd, right? So how can we become more self-aware when it becomes to a profession, and how can we convert our strengths into professional skills?
This is where it comes about the fact that you need to do your research before choosing a certain kind of education that you want. You see, your interests need to also match with those degrees. Like most of the students, they follow the trends, like you just mentioned, they go where their elder brothers or sisters are going for. And most of the time what happens is that what they're doing is that they're not happy with. Like there's a saying that if you like your job, it's no longer a job for you. You would do it happily.
Exactly.
So this is where the students make the mistake that they do not figure out what actually interests them. Like if you want to be a business major, you actually need to be sure of the fact that, okay, are you willing to be a student who wants his own business, or do you just want to be a student who is working as a corporate slave?
But then, with business, okay, now students would certainly think that's why, they're doing business studies, and what happens is that, unfortunately over here in our country, most of the people's dreams really can't be fulfilled because of the fact that they might not have that capital which is required. Most of the times they might not have that confidence. And I think that one of the things which I've seen lacks in majority of the population is the ability to take that initiative. Now, how do you think that you can instill that initiative into those students? Because most of the time, yaar nahi chalega to ki karange, abbu ke paise na doob jaye, udhar leke karobar ka, matlab samajhe bahut sare, there are multiple issues over here. So how do you think you're going to address that?
Being a person who has been doing job for almost 1.5 years, along with her studies, I've noticed one thing, that once you have this mindset that you want to have your own business, you need to make sure that before stepping into any kind of business, try doing a job. Try doing some kind of a job and do it at a corporation. And that's where what matters is that, are you developing your skills? You see, most of the time we students, we blame the universities that the universities have not developed our skills. But we also waste our own times on idle things. We would rather waste it on playing video games and sitting out with
Scrolling
friends,
on Instagram.
scrolling on Instagram or
Mindlessly.
Facebook.
Doom scrolling.
Yeah,
Yes.
but and we miss out the fact that there are many lectures on YouTube. There are many educationists sitting on YouTube. There
Actually
are,
boring है ना, वो भी तो कुछ अच्छा interesting content बना
I
है ना.
mean, they
So
are.
what they do is they give out a 45-minute lecture. Now, who's going to listen to that? I think people really need to innovate.
Yeah, people are into innovation, and there are people who are teaching innovation. Now, if you would search up channels like TED Talk and some of the international channels, they're actually teaching you, they're giving a 10 minutes lecture,
Yep.
and that 10 minutes lecture, they'll highlight the 5 main things that you actually
True,
require.
that's true.
And our students, they would rather spend that 1 to 3 hours on doing something like, which is not adding up to anything at all.
Okay, now in addition to this, you know, where you said that for anybody to actually get into business, it's important that they actually get some sort of a job. You know,
Yeah.
that's your recommendation. Now, how important do you think it is for an individual to have this ability to be able to do some market research?
Yes.
And how do you think that people can do that in today's time where we do have social media? You know, we do see, you know, already online polls results as well,
Yes.
whether who's going to be the prime minister of
Yes.
what country as well.
Yes.
How do you think that we can do that?
Then again, I will bring the same term back to you, that it depends on your interest, it
Okay.
depends on your passion. Just don't do it for the sake of the that okay, this person is doing it, and also don't do it for the sake of money. I mean,
And then what do you think we need to do? Okay, I got your point, but what do you think we need to do? Because kids these days are very tricky. You know, imagine that if they come up, Dad, I want to have my hair salon. Now imagine that the father, who's actually not that liberated as well,
Yeah.
would certainly be of the fact, Puttar ko vadda kaam karo, you know, do something big. Now imagine that the parents have this mentality of saying their children, obviously they want them to grow, ko vadda kaam karo. You know, I have seen people grow from even hair salons. They have 300 or more
they have.
franchises
Yes.
internationally.
And I think, Shahzad, you've been to abroad and you will see that how much money is there in these odd jobs,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if you are a plumber, if you are
Imagine
an
I've been
electrician,
paying
yeah.
25 pounds for a haircut.
Yes,
And they
yes.
do not even use a razor,
And-
they use machines.
Yes, and they have a lot of money in that, and I think that that's a very important point which Shahzad also pointed it out, and how people are interacting with the social media. So I see a lot of students, or I generally population, they are just mindlessly putting out everything on the social media, right? So please highlight that how much it is important when you are going to a job nowadays. What corporations are doing, they are scanning your social media and they are seeing what sort of content are you putting it out. So your digital footprint becomes your new CV, right?
Yes.
And it's very important that you do not consider it as your personal diary. You know, it's a social platform, it's a
Yeah,
public
that is
platform,
very much
right?
true.
So please enlighten us about the importance of that.
As far as social media is concerned, nowadays LinkedIn is the most
Yeah.
popular among all of the corporates. Like they would rather go and check your LinkedIn than check your Facebook.
True.
So if you are aiming for a job that is paying high and also is giving you the skills that you actually require. Like for me, I was interested in project coordination and project management. So you have to design your social media according to that. Like you can design posts in your extra time. Like we do end up writing diaries, we do end up writing comments
Journals,
under
yeah.
different posts. Why don't we just move it towards like going up to Canva, designing a small PPT or designing a small brochure, and we can teach something, or we can just share our thoughts in a way that okay, this is the issue that is going on in the society in this particular sector. These are my thoughts on how we can mitigate it.
And I think as a student, you also need to highlight, because a lot of time, I think Shahzad has also spoken about it, that when you go for a job interview, so what people are saying that you don't have enough experience, right?
Yes.
So as a student, how much your projects are important to project yourself out there, to market yourself out there, and especially when we talk about filling that gap on the LinkedIn. So how can you market yourself out there?
Okay, when it comes to LinkedIn, you can actually you don't actually have to engage in any of the ongoing projects if you are not hired yet. You can start your own research projects also, like you can start your own blogs also, that okay, these are my thoughts on this particular sector. Select a niche and you start writing your own thoughts, research on it. You cannot just go ahead and say that okay, this is wrong. No,
Yep.
research on it, highlight okay what you think and what are your opinions. You can develop your own projects in LinkedIn also. Then when it comes to job market, now that you have selected a niche that okay, I want to work as an accountant, or I want to work as an engineer in a certain organization or a certain industry, you have to make sure that okay, now whether I have developed those skills in myself also. You see, your teachers are there to help you, and your friends are also there to guide you. But
True.
what we do is that we would rather just keep everything to ourselves, and we try to do it on our own.
और बातें भी ज़्यादा करते हैं ना?
Yes, yes.
Talk a lot.
Yeah, we talk a lot, we boast a
I'm
lot.
doing
that-
this, I'm doing that,
Yeah.
and this and that, and towards the end, you know it yourself that you haven't done anything.
Yeah, that is very much true.
It's like me before an exam. I've read it all. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Please.
So
continue.
this is where you need to actually make sure that, okay, we humans were created as social beings.
True.
Like we have our relations because we have to rely on them. So if you are working on something and you feel like, okay, you don't have enough knowledge for it, go out and discuss it with your friends.
True.
If you are not able to understand through them,
Yep.
go out and search it on media, and after that go to your teachers. Like they are there to help you out. All of the teachers are there to guide you out.
Yep.
Like they have a knowledge of 10 to 15
Yeah, probably
years.
go to a person who can guide you through that.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful, and people really need to discipline themselves as well in order for you to kind of garner some results. Now,
Yeah.
very quickly, towards the end, I want to bring this conversation over here because I am of the fact, Hajra can differ obviously, of the fact that that what we really need to utilize most of the time for Pakistan towards our development is, I'm going to connect it with the reference point where how $32 billion, in foreign remittance we bring back home, right? It's
Yeah.
the people who are working out there. Now we do have, growing population. We are a bigger country now in terms of population. We are number 5 or number 6.
Yes.
How do you think? Because I do not really kind of buy the concept of brain drain. I think what we really need to
Yes,
do is
yes.
we need to send our students,
Yeah.
majority of the people outside Pakistan, so that they can go work. How do you think that we can prepare our future generations to kind of have that discipline to prepare themselves for a market which we call a foreign market or market outside Pakistan? How do you think we can do that so that we can compete with those people?
What I think how we can do is that our organizations, universities, institutions, they need to have a certain workshops, certain lectures especially for the students, and
Okay.
it should be compulsory for the students to attend these. Most of the students think that these are nonsense. They are just waste of time. Sitting 3 to 4 hours with a counselor
True.
is just going to be a waste of time, and we can do something else in that time.
Yeah.
So we need to make those things compulsory, and we need to have a counselor who can actually engage those minds, and then we need to build those, we need to actually make our students from a younger age understand, even from the grade 1 to grade 10, that talking to a counselor is not wrong. Making a clear mind map for yourself, like we don't do the mind mapping at all.
True.
We just want to do everything that's on the table, like I can do this, I can do that, but at the end of the day you end up with nothing at all.
True.
So our institutions, like from the day one, I think schools, colleges and universities, they need to have proper sessions, whether at the end of the semester or whether along with the studies
True.
going on, which should be once a week or once a month, that a counselor comes and they guide you out,
Yeah.
that okay, these are the skills that you need, these are the presentation skills, these are the physical appearance skills, these are the soft skills that you require when you step into a job market.
So
or
what you're
into
trying
the
to say over here is that it should just only be about fulfilling your credit hours requirements as well, and there needs to be soft skills as well, and
credit,
there need to be people who talk about it.
And
I
please
mean-
also highlight about the communication skills. How much do you think you need to have good sort of communication skills in order to target people
I
out
think
there? Marketing?
today in this market, if you want to land a job as a fresh graduate, you need to have your communication skills should be, I think they cover the 90%.
Top-notch. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
They
And
cover,
even in today's time, even if you want to land a wife, ladies and gentlemen, the communication skills really need to be top notch. So please
Yeah.
make sure that you
Yeah.
work on that. Thank you so much for
Thank you
being with
so
us.
much.
Lovely to be in conversation. For everybody who's out there, I think it's not just the schools, colleges, universities, teachers and counselors. I think that most of it actually comes from the kind of background that you come from. Now
Yeah.
imagine that I was raised in a family where majority of the people are entrepreneurs, they work themselves as well, and they have always kind of pushed me towards doing something of my own. So maybe initially when I was 15, 16, I was selling smartphones. Even though we didn't have smartphones, we had Chinese copies then. I was doing that. I was doing that happily. So probably I think it's the mindset, which your parents are going to instill in you. If they are hardworking people, they will always make sure that you do the same. And once you're out in the field, to gain that experiences, ladies and gentlemen, it's really important for you to be there to experience it firsthand, and that's how you're going to learn as well. And then later on, I think universities, professors, teachers and the discipline will actually help you. Do you agree?
That's very true. And
yes, I do agree, but I also think that students after 18, kids I would say they are not
Yeah, yeah,
students,
yeah.
but they have the choice to actually change their dynamics. They have the choice to change their
True.
roads. So I would say that those kids should also not stay stuck in those mindsets.
True.
Like you have the chance
अपना
to
ज़हन भी
break,
इस्तेमाल
yeah,
करना।
you have the
Yeah.
chance to break
I
these
think
barriers.
Yeah.
self-awareness is very much important in this regard. So you need to know that what are your strengths, you need to know what are your weaknesses, and how can you convert those strengths into a more professional opportunities, right?
True.
And with that, we are ending our program. Thank you so much for coming here. And until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good
Good morning. Have a great day.